Good morning, Orange Room friends. How are you feeling today? Look outside. What kind of a day have we got today? Well, at least it's not raining. It's a little bit cloudy, but a little bit cool, but we can still go outside and play safely if we want to. Well, what day is it today? Oh, that's right. Do you remember yesterday? We were in the classroom. Well, I'm not there today. But yesterday was Watermelon Wednesday and today is Thirsty Thursday, but it's also Arabella's birthday. Happy birthday, Belly. How are you doing? I hope you're having a great day. Everybody here, me, Lauren, Monse, and all your friends wish you a happy birthday. We wish you could see you, but I bet you're having a great time with your family. All right. I'm going to read a book and then we're going to talk a little bit about space, which is what we're talking about this week. I found this book downstairs. I haven't read it for ages. It's Scottish. It's called Alfie Gets In First. I wonder what it's about. What do you think that's about? Let's find out. Alfie Gets In First. It's got really good pictures. It's written by Shirley Hughes. One day, Alfie and Mum and Annie Rose were coming home from shopping. Alfie ran on ahead because he wanted to get home first. He ran all the way from the corner to the front gate and up the steps to the front door. Then he sat down on the top step and waited for the others. Along came Mum, pushing Annie Rose and the groceries. "I raced you," called Alfie. "I'm back first, so there." Annie Rose didn't care. She was tired. She sat back in her stroller and sucked her thumb. Mum put the brake on the stroller and left Annie Rose at the bottom of the steps while she lifted the basket of groceries up to the top. Then she found the key and opened the door. Alfie dashed in ahead of her. I've won, he shouted. Mum put the basket down in the hall and went back down the steps to lift Annie Rose out of her stroller. But what do you think Alfie did then? Uh-oh. He gave the door a great big slam. Bang. Just like that. Then Mum was outside the door holding Annie Rose and Alfie was inside the door with the groceries. Mum's key was inside too. "Open the door, Alfie," said Mum, but Alfie didn't know how to open the door from the inside. The catch was too high up. Mum looked into the mail slot. "Try to reach the catch and turn it," she said. Alfie tried, but he couldn't quite reach it. "Can you put the key through the mail slot?" asked Mum, but Alfie couldn't reach the mail slot either. Annie Rose was hungry as well as tired. She began to cry. Then Alfie began to cry too. He didn't like being all by himself on the other side of the door. Just then, Mrs. McNally came hurrying across the street to see what all the noise was about. She and Mum said encouraging things through the mail slot, but Alfie still couldn't open the door. "Go and get your little chair from the living room and then you'll be able to reach the catch," said Mum. But Alfie didn't try to get his little chair. He just went on crying louder and louder, and Annie Rose cried louder and louder too. "There's my Maureen," said Mrs. McAnally. "I'm sure she'll be able to help." Mrs. McAnally's Maureen was a big girl. Right away she came and joined Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McAnally on the top step. We might need to break a window," she said. "But I'll try to climb up the drain pipe first if you like." But Mrs. McAnally didn't like that idea at all. "Oh no, Maureen. You might just hurt yourself," she said. Just then, Alfie's very good friend, the milkman, came up the street in his milk truck. There's the milk truck right there. When he saw Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McAnally and Mrs. McAnally's Maureen all standing on the top step, he stopped his truck and said, "What's the trouble?" So they told him. "Don't worry, mate," the milkman shouted. "We'll soon have you out of there." What a lot of people. Looks as though this lock's going to be difficult to break, said the milkman. But then Mrs. McAnally's Maureen had a very good idea. She ran to ask the window cleaner who was working up the street if he would bring his ladder and climb up to the bathroom window. And of course, when the window cleaner heard about Alfie, he came hurrying along with his ladder as quickly as he could. Then Mum and Annie Rose and Mrs. McAnally and Mrs. McAnally's Maureen and the milkman all stood on the top step and watched while the window cleaner put his ladder up against the house. He started to climb up to the bathroom window, and when he was halfway up the ladder, what do you think happened? The front door suddenly opened and there was Alfie. He had managed to reach the catch and turn it like that after all. He was very pleased with himself. He opened the front door as wide as it would go and stood back grandly to let everybody in. You see him? Then the window cleaner came down from his ladder, and he and the milkman and Mrs. McAnally's Maureen and Mrs. McAnally and Annie Rose and Mum and Alfie all went into the kitchen and had tea together. The end. A happy ending. Be careful when you go in and out of your house though, right? We're talking about space this week. There's no place like space. Do you see the cat in the hat with a spacesuit on floating around in the solar system? Let's see what this book's like. There's no place like space. I'm the Cat in the Hat and we're off to have fun. We'll visit the planets and stars and the sun. There's no place like space. I will prove it to you. Your mother will not mind at all if I do. Jump in. Here we go. We will fly up so high we can dance on the moon and play games in the sky. We will swing past the stars, and in case you have missed them, the planets in our solar system. There are 8 of these planets that circle the sun, and you'll soon be able to name every one. Mercury's close to the sun's burning light. It is hot in the daytime but freezing at night. So Mercury's right by the sun. That would be really hot. On Venus the weather is always the same. Hot, dry and windy with no chance of rain. Can you guess the next planet? Well, here is a clue. It is my home and home to the thing and thing too. So this is Venus, which is right next to Mercury. You have been living on it each day since your birth. It is third from the sun. 1, 2, 3. It is our planet, Earth. So we're quite close to the sun, aren't we? And we talked about this yesterday. We're just close enough that it gets warm when it's sunny, and we're far away enough that it doesn't get too hot. Because if it was too hot, we wouldn't really be able to live here. So we're just fine. It spins all the time, round and round like a top. It turns once every day, and it will never stop. The question that thing 1 and thing 2... This question had thing 1 and thing 2 in a tizzy. If the Earth's always spinning, why don't we feel dizzy? We don't feel the Earth as it spins on its way because we're spinning right with it right now every day. Next, here is Mars. It's the colour of rust. What colour is rust? Do you know? Rust is like a dark red colour. Almost a brown and red colour. Brown and red together. We sneeze here because it's covered in dust. Travel to Jupiter and you will find it is bigger than all of the other planets combined. Wow. So it's the biggest one. It's giant. Saturn has rings. It's so light. Who would think it could float in an ocean and not even sink? That's Saturn. It has these rings of meteors around it, I believe. And meteors are sort of just small rocks that float in space. Rocks and ice. A planet can have satellites that surround it. Uranus has lots of these objects around it. Satellite is something that floats around the planet. We have satellites that are like little sort of spacecrafts that go up. That's how our telephones work. They sit up in space and broadcast our phone conversations to each other. There are colours in space. I will show some to you. Neptune, planet 8, is a beautiful blue. We have seen all the planets. Now here is a trick. Remember their names and remember them quick. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Mallory, Mercury. Valerie, Venus. Emily, Earth. Mickles, Mars. Just, Jupiter. Saved, Saturn. Up, Uranus. 999 nickels, Neptune. The first letter of each of these words is the same as the first letter of each of the planets you name. Now here is a game you can play in the skies. Connect all the stars you can see with your eyes. It's star dot to dot. Use your imaginations. You'll see big pictures we call constellations. So if you're with an adult and you look up into the sky, maybe you're lucky enough to have a telescope. The stars make shapes. There's a great bear. There's a great dog. There's a bull. And there's a lion. And when I was little, I used to look up and I could see there's one called the Big Dipper, and it looks like a great big soup ladle in the sky. A dog, the great bear, and Leo the lion, Taurus the bull, and a hunter, Orion. That's Orion the hunter. A star in the sky may look small like a dot, but it's really a big glowing ball and it's hot. So the sun that we see in the sky is a star. It's just a lot closer to us, so it looks a lot bigger. But all the stars we see at night are that big or bigger still. And here's one star by far that's our favourite one. We can't live without it. The star called... What did I just talk about? That's right, the sun. From the Earth it looks big. There is one reason why. It's the closest to Earth of the stars in the sky. But be careful and never look right at the sun. Your eyes could get hurt and that would not be fun. So don't look straight at the sun. Wear sunglasses. How big is the sun? We just heard right this minute. 1 million of our Earths could fit right in it. Wow, 1 million of our giant planet Earths could fit inside the sun. That's how big it is. Oh, look at the time. We must go very soon. But first we must take a quick look at the moon. The moon does not shine in the sky in the night, but like a big mirror reflects the sun's light. So when you see the moon at night and it's shining so brightly, it is reflecting light off the sun. The moon does not have light of its own. It's just a small ball of rock in the sky, really. I mean, it's not that small, but it's a lot smaller than the planet Earth. So the sun reflects off it like a mirror. And that's why it looks so shiny and bright. Astronauts flew to the moon to explore a place no one had ever been before. They walked on the moon and they drove all over in a special moon car called a lunar rover. See that? An astronomer studies what's up in the sky. Thing 2 wants to be one. In fact, so do I. The universe is a mysterious place. We are only just learning what happens in space. So I brought you a present to look in the sky. Just put this telescope up to your eye. Oh dear, I must go fly back up to the stars to take thing 1 and 2 out to dinner on Mars. Wow. But there's lots to discover, and it might be you who looks up in the sky and finds something that's new. All right, well that was interesting, wasn't it? Maybe tonight, before you go to bed, you could have a look outside your window, or maybe go out into your backyard, look up in the sky and see how many stars you can find. See if you can count any. Maybe you'll see the moon tonight. That would be a fun thing to do. All right, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll check back in with you later. Bye for now, and happy birthday, Arabella. I miss you. Love you.